Nov, the area of the Mishkan. He meets up with Achimelech, and he does notice that Doeg is in the area, and we have to shed light on this character, this figure, this person, who's basically the cause of accepting Lashon Hara. And as a result, Shaul has such fear of the people living in Nov that he orders the killing of 85 Kohanim. But we can't stop there, because in Pasuk Yutet, verse 19 of chapter 22, verse 19, of course, yes, okay, it says that Nov Yira Kohanim Mikal Lefi Cherev. Not just what? The Kohanim, but Me'ish Vadisha, men and women, Me'olel V'ad Yonek, nursing mothers and sucklings, V'shor V'chamor V'sel Lefi Charev. And then we see David taking even responsibility when he meets up with Evyatar, the only son that's able to flee from the city, and the only son of Achimelech ben Achituv. So if we're looking for a word maybe to pinpoint what's happening here, this is a massacre. And it's all based on Lashon Hara. And what's going on here? Let's remember some things about Doeg, who, on the one hand, we learned that he was the head of the Beit Din. He was an Av Beit Din. How can an Av Beit Din do such terrible things? We're trying to understand this. Isn't he lichora a Rasha Gamur? He's a wicked person. Wicked is not even the right word. I don't know what now we could be using for him. But it's obvious that his hands and his mouth are equal in the act of cruelty. If we look again in Tehillim Nun Bet, okay, in Psalms 52 that you should have in front of you, it says about his personality. What does he say in Pasuk Hey? Haftar, he's just talking about Doeg, right? It's obvious that David here in Tehillim is, after this massacre, is writing about Doeg. What does he say? Haftara mitov, sheker midaber, tzedek selah. Okay, you love the Ra. You love the equal. You love the wickedness. All terrible things you like. So it's not that Mr. Doeg just tells about events happening. We learned what he told. We learned what he didn't tell. Okay? In fact, in the Midrash in Tehillim, gentlemen, in the Midrash on Tehillim on this Nun Bet, look, by the way, in David using the first Pasuk Bet, right? Back in Nun Bet of Psalms, it says two verbs. Bevo Doeg Adami, vayaged l'Shaul, vayomer lo. Why do we need both verbs? Vayaged and vayomer. Let's see how the Midrash explains this Pasuk of Tehillim. Look at source Hey, lower. Again, we're trying to explain what's going on here as far as Doeg HaAdomi is concerned. Okay? So now we're going to be aided by the Midrash. One is enough usually for you, right? Just move the other one out of the way. It shouldn't be a michshol. It shouldn't be a michshol in the public area. Stumbling block. There you go. Okay? So look at the Midrash Tehillim that's explaining this pasuk of of David writing about this terrible massacre in Nov. So the Midrash says on the pasuk in verse source A here, Vayaged l'Shaul. The Midrash asks rhetorically, Ma'u vayaged? Va'agid le. He told him. So what? Ma amarlo, kach amarlo. This is what really Mr. Doeg means when he's recounting the story of what he saw in the city of Nov, where the Mishkan is. Asa David Melech b'chayecha. You know how David acted during your time that you're king? He acted like a king. Why? Lefi she'ein sho'alim be'urim v'tumim ela lemelech u'leveitin u'lemi shetzrochei harabim teluyim bo. Now look, he's a very sharp guy. He's the head of a beitin. Who is able to use the Urim V'Tumim for national matters? Only a king, okay? Or the Beitin, or someone that the public really needs him. V'David, hu nishal b'Urim V'Tumim. Why do you think it was important for Doeg strategizing to tell Shaul that David went and asked a question to the Urim V'Tumim? He wants to arouse the jealousy. This guy David, he's acting as if he's a what? He's a king. Bottom line, Kevan she'amar lo hadavar hazeh, once he said this matter, the Midrash says, miyad nichnas ruach kin'ah b'Shaul. Ruach kin'ah b'Shaul. I think this is really telling it all. Shaul, Mr. Doeg, is rotten, cruel. He himself is jealous. Who is he jealous of? The greatness of David. The greatness of David. So after looking in these matters and understanding, Doeg is speaking Lashon Hara because he himself is jealous. He's jealous. Do you remember the first incident we learned a few chapters ago when Shaul was mentally so low and Doeg wanted to suggest, I know how to lift up your spirits? And who did he suggest to come over? To sing, to play music for him? David. You should know, there's a Gemara in Sanhedrin. I don't know if I brought it now. No. Yes. Let's just prove the point how evil he is. We're now, in retrospect, going back a few chapters ago, when David is asked and summoned by the king to come over. His last thing he wanted to do is meet with the king, because he just a moment ago was anointed secretly. And he doesn't want to rock the boat. How can it be that there are two kings ruling? So he's playing it quiet. He's not taking the initiative to become king. The last thing he wants to do is go to Shaul. He doesn't want Shaul to find out that he was anointed by Shmuel secretly.
Do you have information, indication that Doeg already knew that David was anointed?
It could very well be that he found out. He's a conniver. He's a terrible person. Look how the Gemara in Sanhedrin Sadi Gimel, the bottom source, 6 bet, is explaining 6 Aleph. Let's read 6 Aleph. Remember, this is what we learned in Tet Zayin 6 chapters ago. Vayan echad mehane'arim. The Tanakh doesn't even bother saying to us who is responding here, but we know it's Doeg. Vayomer, he says, Hina, you know what? Ra'iti ben liyishai beit alchmi. Now, number one, he doesn't even bother mentioning his name. He's like, on the one hand, mizalzel, but he's belittling him. But on the other hand, he talks about his qualities. Yodea nagein. He's a great musician. V'gibor chayil. You see what I'm reading? 6 Aleph. He is a warrior. V'ish milchama. Unavon davar. He's an intelligent man. V'ishtor. He's a good-looking man. My computer program doesn't spell out God's name. Instead, the letter Daled. So we don't mess up with, if we, God forbid, we throw it away. Vashem imo. And God is with him. Gentlemen, what's going on in the heart of Doeg that he is suggesting for David to come and play music and lift up his spirits? Rav Yudah, in the name of Rav, explains this entire pasuk. See the Gemara down below. Ve'amar Rav Yudah Marav, in the name of Rav. Kol pasuk hazeh, meaning the pasuk we just mentioned, lo ameru Doeg ela b'lashon hara. His entire intention was to speak bad. Why? Yodea nagain, meaning sheyodea lisha'el. He knows to be asked questions. He's a leader. Gibor Sheyodea lashiv, he knows how to give back answers. Ish milchama, sheyodea lisa v'liten b'milchamta shel Torah. He's what? He's wow. In the war of Torah. Okay? Meaning in the Beit Midrash, when anyone has a question, he knows how to respond. Ish Toar, meaning about Shemareh Pani, he knows how to speak halacha. V'navon davar, shemivin davar mitoch davar. Why in the world is Doeg like reading the Hallel about David in front of Shaul? Is there a reason that he's so much prizing him, so much praising him? Oh, that's exactly it, even though I didn't bring the rest. He is trying to arouse the jealousy of Shaul on David. He's trying to arouse the jealousy of Shaul and David. And that's exactly what's happening now when he's at David. He himself is jealous. Gentlemen, why do you think, well, let's go back. What nickname did we see already in the Tanakh that Doeg is called? He's called Abir Haroim, the strongest, the most best of all shepherds. And according to Chazal, in Masechet Sanhedrin, he's either the head of the Sanhedrin or he's an Av Beitin. But the truth is, he could be very sharp in Torah learning, but he is right now implanting an arrow in the heart of Shaul, because like you said, he wants to arouse the jealousy of Shaul. Gentlemen, this guy is a Rasha. He's a Rasha. But how can he be a Rasha if he's such what? He's so great and in Torah. So the answer is, if you're great in Torah, you can also be great in cruelty. How could it be? Torah? Isn't it supposed to refine your character traits? Aren't you supposed to be a Balmidot, a master of good character traits? How can it be? How can it be? What does David say about his character traits? Go back to Perek Nun Bet of David HaMelech writing about Doeg in Pasuk Gimel. Matitalel bera'a hagibor chesed el kol hayom. In other words, don't be praising yourself, because you are what? You're Ra. You're evil. The famous Midrash says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says about Doeg, you're not a Gibor. You have nothing to be praising yourself. And our question is, how can you really go from greatness in Torah to such a low level? How can it happen? So the truth is that if you're going to be so great in Torah, however, be so low in midot, a man full of jealousy, a man full of with an ayin hara, with an evil eye, looking at someone else. Apparently, the Torah by Doeg is all superficial. It's not something pnimi. It's like something academic, something superficial on the outside that he's sharp, he knows Shulchan Aruch, Yoredea, Ibn Ezra, Choshen Mishpat, Orach Chaim, he knows all of this. Fantastic. But it's not internalized. It's not making an impact on his midot whatsoever. He's a Rasha. The Torah by him is only on the Sfatayim and on the outside. It's on his lips on the outside. It's not entering inside him. A Torah like this does not have an impact on bad weeds, as we call them, as-savir mera'im, like Doeg. Okay? And here we see that this is who Doeg is about. Okay? Now, the terrible thing here is, he's like igniting a fire that is already blasting. Shaul is full of jealousy. Shaul only sees the bad in David. And we like to end this understanding is, note, later on we only see the evil of Shaul noted, he killed 85 Kohanim. But excuse me, what about the rest of the city? In verse 19. He wipes out not only 85 Kohanim, he wipes out what in verse Yutet, verse 19? He wipes out the entire city, men and women, children, and older people, animals. He gives the orders to have it done. Absolutely. It was Doeg himself who killed the 85 Kohanim. It's like we never see such a thing. The answer is that right now Shaul is so full of jealousy, he apparently thinks that maybe the townspeople are collaborating with David as well. Why didn't they stop David? He's doing things which are totally irrational. And right now, this is a terrible flaw for Am Yisrael, because the jealousy of Shaul against David has reached new heights, that right now, all he's thinking right now is stopping David and punishing anyone and everyone. And it's a terrible thing. We'll continue with this with our next shiur.